Surprise, cities across America are salivating over how to win Amazon's contest to be the online tech giant's second headquarters. It would come with 50,000 jobs and the construction of about 8 million square foot campus. Amazon made its criteria crystal clear. Among the requirements, only cities with populations of 1 million or more, good transit, the ability to attract top tech talent, lots of public aid, and much more. Boston is clearly in the running, and Mayor Marty Walsh called it a no-brainer for the city to make a bid.
It's 50,000 jobs. It's $4 billion worth of investment into an area. That's an awful lot. That's too much to pass up.
Competitors include Washington, D.C., Austin, Denver, Pittsburgh, Toronto, and even other Massachusetts cities, all likely to offer, along with the state, hefty packages of tax incentives to entice Amazon. So venture into the Amazon bidding jungle, and is the cost worth the benefit? Joining me is Shirley Leung, business columnist for the Boston Globe and WGBH contributor. Nice to see you, Shirley. C.A. Webb is founder of the 50/50 Project and co-founder and former partner at _VC. Nice to see you, too, C.A. Evan Falchuk, local business guy and former third-party candidate for governor, a vocal critic of Boston's other recent big bid. That was Boston 2024. Evan, it's good to see you. So, Shirley, in the Globe, you make the case that Boston should not only go for it, but be bold, I think, were your words. Make your case.
You know, Jeff Bezos is a visionary in corporate America, and, you know, we have an opportunity to put in a bid that's not just about public aid, but about re-envisioning a headquarters, reimagining a neighborhood, investing in our public transit, and also, most importantly, fixing our education system from K through college so we can have a new pipeline of tech talent, 50,000 of them.
Is this deja vu all over again a little bit for you? Does it sound at all similar to anything else you've talked about on the show?
Maybe the Olympics?
Maybe the Olympics. You're not crazy about this idea, Evan Falchuk. Why?
I'm not, because it's a $150 billion company that's coming to a cash-strapped state asking for a handout. And this is part of what's wrong in our country right now, is that we've got connected groups who are able to get lots of money from government. If you're a school, if you're a transit system, if you're any of the other programs that need help, you're going begging. So we've got to have the right priorities.
But you're acting as if it's a one-way street. Let's assume, who knows what this might cost? I mean, the only model we have is GE, 120 million from the state, 25 or something from the city. We have no idea what Amazon's looking for or what we give. So that goes out to them. But 50,000 jobs, the prestige of having the master of the universe, Jeff Bezos, come to town, doesn't that at least offset some of that?
I agree with Shirley about being bold. I think bold is saying to Amazon, you've got a chance to revitalize an entire region. And look at a place like Springfield that could be transformed together with Amazon into a regional hub for the whole Northeast. We could do that with infrastructure spending, build that rail line to Springfield, cut red tape, but not tax breaks. Let's let Amazon give back and be part of doing something to push back on the depressed economies in these areas.
You want to break the tie here?
Well, I mean, I told Evan, first of all, Springfield implausible, maybe Worcester, we can talk about it. But I agree, I don't think it's a one-way street at all. And I think that obviously you've got to put together a smart deal where there are clear, you know, hurdles, milestones, expectations. But I absolutely am supportive of the state putting together an incentive package and or the city and making this happen.
But let's go
50,000 jobs, Jim. I mean, what other employer is talking about 50,000 jobs on a 20-year trajectory?
Okay,
no one.
So let's assume your boss, when I mentioned the following of the Brian McGrory on the radio, said, where are we going to put 50,000 people? He said some of them will already be here. So let's assume 30,000 are new. Where do we put them? How do we get them to work? We're having enough trouble. Well, you want her to answer the question? Was this like a lifeline kind of thing?
I've been just gobbling up all of the Globe's pieces on this over the last week. And by the way, every editorial board at every paper in the U.S. is writing about this right now. It's really fun to see what other cities are saying. Well, but Scott Kersner says housing will be what takes us down.
Well, no, but the thing about, though, Mayor Walsh, he's made affordable housing, middle-class housing a priority, and he's doing, what is it, 50,000 units by a certain time? And so
50,000 units in 50,000 years, I think.
No, I think by 2020. I mean, in a very, and also Governor Baker knows that.
But that's in huge part, Shirley Leung, for people who can't afford, who are living in Boston or want to stay in Boston, who can't afford to live here now.
But I think any plan that we propose has to include a housing component, and I think they will address that. I mean, you know, Bezos, you know, Seattle also has housing problems. I mean, he's going to have to weigh in, do I want housing or do I want tech talent? And I think tech talent's going to win out. And then it's up to policymakers to solve, you know, how do we make more affordable housing?
Well, but speaking of tech talent, and since you quoted her or somebody before, let me quote her also. You said something like, for every 17 tech jobs that exist, there's one kid that graduates from college here with a computer science degree. So even though we rhetorically say we've got all this tech talent, we're not pumping it out at the rate that the Amazons of the world need it, are we, or are we?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
absolutely?
Among the 70 colleges and universities in Massachusetts, and then you have to think regionally as well, right? Bezos went to Princeton with you.
Right.
I mean, we'll be recruiting across the Eastern Corridor, but it's about them anchoring the West Coast on one side and East Coast on the other and drawing that talent up and down.
Is your only concern about this is the tax incentives and that? Let's assume they said we don't need money. We need, as you said, we need infrastructure. Mm-hmm. We need a greater investment in UMass, for example, so we can generate even more of these people. Would you be okay? Is this one sticking point with you?
No, the tax breaks, to me, I mean, Amazon, 4 out of the 9 things they listed have to do with getting tax breaks. They've made it really clear. They put an October 19th deadline. They want states competing against each other to give away money to them. It's wrong for a big company like this to go looking for handouts from the government.
But do you think that's a matter of principle? I mean, I don't like it either because the line of a lot of people smarter than I am is it's a race to the bottom. You just bid and bid and bid. Right. And also, when you're making this much money, how much is a couple $100 million in the grand scheme of things really, or several $100 million going to matter? But the reality is the winner is going to have to put some money in their pockets.
It's one of the problems we have in our country is we don't plan right for these things. So Boston, for example, it's going through the Boston 2030 process, looking towards the future. I am sure that part of that plan does not say, let's go find a way to send a distribution center in Boston for 50,000 people to work there. It's not part of the plan. So we're waiting for the next hot thing to come around and the next shiny object to come through, and that's where public policy goes. We need better leadership around these things. If we were envisioning the future and thinking bold like Shirley's suggesting, we'd say, come to the central part, western Massachusetts, let's make this, let's transform this region.
There are rumors that she said you didn't go to college simultaneously with him.
No, not simultaneously.
But the rumor is you actually read a biography of his of late.
I did.
So do you have any insight into Bezos that we all don't have about what might convince him? I assume he's the primary decision maker.
Yes, he is, and he should be, and I believe he will be. And he really likes. I mean, he really likes smart talent. I mean, he really. And early on, when he started Amazon, he would actually ask people to list their SAT scores. And so, I think Amazon is an innovative company because he pushes people to really think out of the box. And I think that's what they want in this proposal. And so, one of the things that I want to rebut about Evan's comment about, we need leadership. The problem is that we need an Amazon thinking about coming here to get everyone on board. We need a catalyst because the leadership, Beacon Hill right now won't just decide I'm going to invest more in education or I'm going to do more in public transit. They could do that now, but they don't. But they need something like an Amazon as a way to kind of convince them to do that now.
Can I tell you, if I had thought in advance, I would have gotten the tape of you advocating for the Olympics. And we literally could have done a side-by-side kind of thing. And since I'm obsessed with, you were a chief advocate for that, and you're a chief advocate, you have become a chief advocate for this. One of the things that sunk the Olympics was the top-down. I think if Chris Dempsey were sitting here, he was one of the 3 leaders of Boston 2024, I think he'd say it was the top-down nature of this thing. Why will the top-down nature of a venture like this, which is exponentially bigger, as Brian McGrory said to us on the radio, the Olympics are only 3 weeks, this is a lifetime. If this is top-down the sequel, isn't this going to create a huge amount of problem for the city? People who need affordable housing are going to say, you're giving them, I'm making up a number, if we gave $150 million to GE for 900 jobs, you're giving them $1 billion, you're giving them $1.25 billion. The process matters here, doesn't it?
The process does matter. I think, frankly, the Olympics and Amazon are just an apple and an orange.
Why?
Even though I can see why you want to compare, because the outcomes for the average Bostonian are dramatically different. We're talking about 50,000 average 100K plus salaried positions.
Yeah, but that's like an intellectual approach to the CA.
We're not talking about you can move out of your apartment and rent it for a week.
But if he's right, and I think he is, there's going to be a significant outlay of cash. Everybody who wants state and city cash and isn't getting it is going to say, you gave it to them. Did you consult me? I'm serious. Were there community meetings?
Well, the constraint of a month will necessarily short-circuit that conversation.
Were you nodding in agreement there?
I was, because that is the leadership problem here is that we're essentially outsourcing our government to a Fortune 500 company like Amazon. That doesn't make sense. We have too much corporate control over policymaking. This is it writ large.
Could you design a process? What if the legislature actually held hearings on this?
It would be great.
I mean, but that would help.
19th.
What's that?
We have till October 19th. So we could try to have hearings, but that's the deadline that
But
Amazon
but that's the
imposed.
start of the process. The reality
They,
for getting
they want the bid. They want your bid in by October 19th.
How about that? I forgot. How about that? The deadline is right around the
Right
corner.
around
How
the
do we
corner.
deal with that with virtually no public input? Quickly.
No, I think we'll put in a bid, and I think what people are also talking about is if we are thinking boldly after we put in the bid, let's talk about should we do some of these things regardless if Amazon comes.
But the train has already left the station at this point. The bid's already in. So it does sound like, I'm not going to say it again, it sounds like that thing all over again. Still young, we got to go. We'll continue this. Not you, the thing.
Thanks.
CA, great to see you.
Thanks,
Evan, thanks
Yep.
so much for your time. I appreciate it.